At 7:11 a.m., a 911 call pulled Raleigh police to the Broadwell Financial Group tower. Employees arriving for weekend overtime had found a body. The victim was 32-year-old Dana Mitchell, a senior analyst discovered hidden beneath a renovation tarp in the file storage room. Blood pooled on the carpet near a broken brass letter opener. Her office showed signs of struggle, and the surveillance system had been shut down hours earlier. What made the discovery more alarming was the building's access record. The security system showed no forced entry. The person who walked into Broadwell the night before had used a valid key card. Cameras captured only brief movement before the feed went dark. Whoever came inside knew exactly where to go and how to avoid being seen. By 8:00 a.m., homicide detectives sealed the building. 40 employees who had clocked in that morning were escorted out for questioning. The entire fourth floor of Broadwell Financial was transformed into a crime scene. Its papers, offices, and conference rooms searched inch by inch. From the start, the case carried a chilling question. Why Dana Mitchell? Was this a targeted killing, an inside job, or a cover-up tied to the firm's financial dealings? The answers would not come quickly. What began as a single office murder would unravel into a chain of discoveries, exposing secrets that reached far beyond the locked doors of Broadwell Financial. Broadwell Financial Group operated out of a modern glass tower in downtown Raleigh, North Carolina. The firm specialized in audits, compliance, and corporate tax work, making it a place where deadlines stretched late into the night and accuracy determined reputation. Employees often worked beyond regular hours, but official access was tightly controlled. Key cards logged every entry and exit. Cleaning crews were scheduled in fixed slots and escorted by security. The system left little room for unmonitored movement. Dana Mitchell, the victim, had been with Broadwell for 5 years. At 32, she had risen steadily through the ranks to become a senior analyst handling sensitive corporate accounts. Her reputation was precise and dependable. She kept her personal life separate from her job and rarely appeared in workplace gossip. The company's leadership included managing partner Robert Reeve, human resources director Jennifer Cole, and team supervisor Marcus Hall, who oversaw Dana and several other analysts. These were the names investigators would hear first when questioning staff. In the days leading up to her death, Broadwell's offices carried the usual rhythm of deadlines and audits. No one reported unusual activity. Yet, after hours on that Friday night, the order inside the tower was broken. At 11:47 p.m. on Friday, Broadwell Financial's South Lobby doors registered an entry. No alarms sounded. The electronic log confirmed a valid card swipe. Inside, the lights remained off as the elevator carried one passenger to the fourth floor. At 12:13 a.m., motion detectors recorded movement in the accounting wing. 2 cameras briefly picked up a figure crossing the hallway before the feeds went black. In the basement, the main breaker to the surveillance hub had been switched off manually. Whoever entered knew where the panel was and how to silence it. By morning, the sequence of events would become clear. Dana Mitchell's office was the focal point. A chair had been knocked over. A drawer to her desk hung open, its files scattered. On the glass desktop, a smear of blood traced across the surface, stopping at the edge. The conference room nearby smelled strongly of bleach, its carpet damp in several patches. No cleaning staff had been scheduled. The search of the floor ended at the file storage room. There, under a folded plastic renovation tarp, detectives uncovered Dana's body. She was fully dressed in her work clothes. Her injuries suggested blunt force trauma to the head. The weapon was found nearby, a brass letter opener bent nearly in half. The blow had been both sudden and violent. The office bore other signs that caught investigators' attention. A security keypad at the stairwell had been reset. A phone inside Dana's office had been disconnected at the wall, and on the floor beside her overturned chair lay a single key card, issued not to Dana, but to another employee in the firm. The timeline after midnight remained uncertain. No witnesses had been inside the building. The streets around Broadwell were quiet, with only occasional late-night traffic captured by city cameras. No suspicious vehicles were reported at the time. Whoever moved through the building that night left little trace beyond the scene itself. At 7:02 a.m., the first employees arrived for weekend overtime. They found paperwork scattered in the hallway and the heavy chemical smell. Some believed the janitorial staff had cleaned late. Minutes later, the discovery of blood in Dana's office ended that assumption. The 911 call went out at 7:11 a.m. Raleigh police arrived within minutes, quickly escalating to a homicide response. By 7:29 a.m., the entire tower was locked down. Elevators and stairwells were sealed. Every employee present was escorted out, logged, and placed on a list for questioning. Detectives began immediate processing of the scene. Gloves, swabs, and evidence markers covered Dana's office and the storage room. Footprints tracked through the damp bleach on the conference carpet were photographed. The bent brass letter opener was bagged. The discarded key card was taken for fingerprint and DNA testing. Initial checks of the building confirmed no forced entry. Every door and lock had been used properly. Security staff reported no alarms overnight. The only electronic irregularity was the cut surveillance feed. The crime scene left investigators with 3 clear facts. Dana Mitchell had been targeted. The attacker possessed detailed knowledge of Broadwell's building systems, and access had been gained with a legitimate key card. The normal order of a downtown office had shifted into something calculated, violent, and concealed. For police, the central question was no longer whether this was an accident or a random intrusion. It was who inside Broadwell, or close enough to it, had both the access and the reason to kill Dana Mitchell after hours. Detective Bira Callahan, a 10-year veteran of Raleigh's homicide unit, was assigned as the lead investigator. By midday, her team was inside Broadwell Financial, documenting every inch of the 4th floor. Their first focus was the building's electronic access system. Logs showed a single swipe at 11:47 p.m. Friday, registering under the name of Marcus Hall, Dana's immediate supervisor. The entry was valid, and no exit was recorded. Hours later, Dana Mitchell was dead. When confronted at the scene, Marcus confirmed he still had his card in his wallet. Yet the card discovered on the floor in Dana's office also carried his registration. This contradiction was enough to move him from witness to person of interest. The forensic sweep of the office revealed more. The conference room next to Dana's office carried a heavy bleach odor. The carpet was damp in patches. Swabs taken from the fibers showed diluted traces of blood, later matched to Dana. Her body had been moved after bleeding in that room. The bent brass letter opener beside her body produced a partial fingerprint. Smudged and incomplete, it offered no immediate match but was preserved for later comparison. Shoe prints pressed into the bleach confirmed a size consistent with men's dress shoes, likely size 11. Marcus Hall wore that size. The autopsy confirmed what detectives already suspected. Dana died of blunt force trauma to the head. The wound matched the brass letter opener. The estimated time of death was between 11:55 p.m. and 12:20 a.m., less than 30 minutes after Marcus's card was logged. Dana had not been sexually assaulted, nor had she fought back. The attack was sudden from behind, with no chance to resist. Detectives moved quickly to interview employees. 40 staff members had been present that Saturday morning when the body was discovered. Several noted that Dana and Marcus had worked late nights together in the past. Others recalled friction between them over a recent client audit. Dana had been digging into irregularities tied to a high-profile account, Halston Industries. A few employees mentioned that she had planned to raise concerns with human resources. None had seen her after regular hours on Friday. Marcus claimed he had been home all night and suggested the card found on the floor was planted. His wife supported his claim, saying he was home around midnight, though no outside witness confirmed his whereabouts. His insistence did not remove suspicion. The deliberate shutdown of the surveillance system pushed the case further toward an inside job. The breaker panel that killed the cameras was located in the basement, accessible only to those with management clearance. Attention turned to Dana's work. On her desk, investigators noticed a gap where one folder should have been. When checked against digital backups, they found that only one file was missing, the ongoing audit of Halston Industries. Donna had been compiling evidence of discrepancies in their quarterly statements. The absence of that file connected her death directly to her professional work. Forensic labs moved through the evidence piece by piece. DNA collected from the keycard carried two profiles, Marcus Hall's and an unknown contributor. The brass letter opener offered only a smeared print, but the presence of a second DNA profile complicated the case. Dana's fingernails contained no foreign DNA, underscoring the fact that she had not fought her attacker. The breakthrough came when investigators discovered a gap in the access records. 2 weeks earlier, Dana had reported her keycard defective and was issued a replacement. Her old card had never been deactivated. That card registered an entry at 11:45 p.m., just 2 minutes before Marcus's card swipe at 11:47. No exit was recorded. This suggested at least 2 people entered the building that night. The possibility of staged evidence grew stronger. If Dana's old card had been used first, then Marcus's card may have been introduced afterward to redirect suspicion. The question was who held the defective card and how it left Dana's possession. Investigators pulled phone records for further clarity. Dana's personal phone shut down at 12:01 a.m., within the estimated window of death. But her office phone registered a missed call at 11:50 p.m. The extension traced directly back to Marcus Hall's office. Marcus denied making any calls, yet the log showed the call existed. Whether made by him or someone using his phone, it placed his office in the timeline of events. Media coverage increased pressure on detectives. Headlines painted the story as a corporate scandal, blending workplace tension, missing financial files, and suspicious access logs. Public speculation leaned toward Marcus, but Callahan resisted immediate arrest. Too many loose threads remained. 2 separate entries, a missing audit file, a planted keycard, and unexplained DNA. The investigation no longer resembled a straightforward workplace killing. The evidence hinted at a larger scheme. Dana Mitchell had not been killed in a random act of violence. She had been silenced inside her office building, and the truth of who orchestrated it and why was still concealed within layers of access records, missing documents, and staged appearances. The puzzle was tightening, but the next revelations would push the case in an entirely new direction. 2 weeks into the investigation, the case shifted with the discovery of a second surveillance source. A maintenance subcontractor had left a temporary camera active in the elevator shaft for inspection purposes. The device was independent of Broadwell's main system and had not been disabled when the breaker was cut. Reviewing the footage, detectives observed elevator movement at 11:49 p.m. on the night of the murder. The car carried 2 figures, one male, one female. The female matched Dana Mitchell. The male wore dark clothing and carried a folder. The camera angle obscured his face, but his build was smaller than Marcus Hall's. This single frame challenged the prevailing theory. Analysis of the footage showed the elevator car stopping. On the 4th floor at 11:50 p.m., the doors opened, and both individuals exited. Dana was alive at that point. The man carried the folder into the hallway. Investigators noted that the folder resembled the missing Halston Industries audit file. Around the same time, financial investigators working with police uncovered another layer. Halston Industries had been under quiet review by federal regulators. Dana's report had flagged inflated revenues and concealed liabilities. The missing folder was not just an office record, it was potential evidence of corporate fraud worth millions. The link between her work and her death became undeniable. Attention turned toward access logs again. The unknown DNA on Marcus Hall's card did not belong to Dana or Marcus. Comparison with employee samples produced a match. Jennifer Cole, the Human Resources Director. Her DNA profile appeared on the card left at the scene. Jennifer admitted to handling Marcus's card weeks earlier during a staff review, but denied any role in the crime. Detectives pressed further. When confronted with the elevator footage, Jennifer's denial faltered. She claimed she had been in the building that night but insisted she left before midnight. Her own keycard did not register entry or exit. Investigators concluded she may have used Dana's old defective card, which explained the mysterious 11:45 p.m. swipe. Jennifer's involvement was no longer peripheral. The turning point came with the search warrant for Jennifer's office. Inside a locked cabinet, detectives found a USB drive. Forensic review revealed partial scans of Dana's Halston Industries audit. Timestamps showed the files had been copied the night of the murder, minutes before Dana's phone shut down. The chain of events was becoming clear. Dana had been lured back into the office, her audit taken, and her body silenced to prevent disclosure. But the involvement of Jennifer Cole raised further questions. Why would a human resources director risk everything over financial records? Investigators pulled her banking records and discovered large unexplained deposits over the past 6 months. Tracing the accounts revealed links to Halston Industries subsidiaries. Jennifer had been receiving payments, most likely for suppressing internal complaints tied to Dana's audit. Another surprise came from digital forensics. Marcus Hall's office phone, which had placed a call to Dana at 11:50 p.m., was accessed using Jennifer's security code. This discovery shifted suspicion further away from Marcus. Jennifer had staged evidence with his card and his office phone to implicate him. Despite these findings, one detail remained unsolved. Who was the man seen in the elevator beside Dana? When investigators showed still frames to employees, one identified him as Thomas Avery, an IT contractor who had worked on Broadwell's systems until recently. Avery had left the company a month before the murder but still carried access to the building's networks. He was traced to an apartment on the outskirts of Raleigh. Detectives executed a warrant and seized Avery's laptop. On it, they found traces of Broadwell's security software, evidence he had tampered with access logs in the past, and encrypted communications with Jennifer Cole. The two had coordinated Dana's surveillance and discussed methods to erase evidence. Avery's role became central. The elevator footage placed him with Dana minutes before her death. Digital records tied him to disabling the cameras. Forensic tests revealed his shoe size matched the bleach footprints. And, most damning, his DNA was detected on the brass letter opener handle, alongside the partial print. The revelation shocked investigators. The murder had not been the act of a single jealous supervisor or lone intruder. It was the result of collusion between a company insider and an external contractor. Jennifer Cole had facilitated access, payment, and cover-up. Thomas Avery had carried out the physical attack and cleanup. Together, they had targeted Dana because of the audit that threatened to expose fraud. By the third week, the case narrative had turned completely. Marcus Hall, initially painted as the prime suspect, was cleared. His card had been stolen and planted. His phone had been used to mislead investigators. His name had nearly been destroyed by calculated deception. The arrest of Jennifer Cole and Thomas Avery marked the climax of the investigation. Cole was taken into custody during a morning meeting inside Broadwell's tower. Avery was arrested at his apartment, where police recovered additional digital evidence linking him to corporate sabotage and data theft. The shocking revelation was not only the identity of the killers but the scale of the conspiracy. Dana Mitchell had uncovered a financial scheme reaching outside her firm, and her murder was carried out to bury the evidence. Broadwell Financial, once a simple corporate office, was now the stage for a homicide tied to fraud, deception, and betrayal from within. The investigation had pulled back the curtain, and what lay behind it was far more dangerous than anyone expected on the morning her body was found. The arrests of Jennifer Cole and Thomas Avery shifted the case from police investigation to courtroom battle. Prosecutors filed charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and corporate fraud. The indictments came swiftly, backed by DNA, surveillance footage, and digital records. Cole and Avery were arraigned in Wake County Superior Court. Both entered pleas of not guilty. Their defense strategies diverged sharply. Cole's attorneys argued she had no knowledge of Avery's intent to kill, portraying her as a reluctant participant in a financial cover-up. Avery's defense claimed he had been manipulated by Cole, insisting the death was unplanned and accidental. The prosecution outlined a clear narrative. Jennifer Cole had been receiving illegal payments from Halston Industries to suppress damaging audits. When Dana Mitchell's review threatened exposure, Cole turned to Avery, a former IT contractor with access skills. Together, they arranged for Dana to return to the office after hours, removed her audit file, disabled surveillance, and silenced her permanently. The trial opened with testimony from investigators. Detective Barra Callahan presented the timeline of card swipes, camera footage, and phone records. Jurors saw the elevator still frames placing Dana and Avery together minutes before her death. They reviewed access logs showing Dana's defective card used by Cole. They heard about the staged evidence involving Marcus Hall, designed to frame an innocent supervisor. Forensic experts delivered critical testimony. A DNA analyst explained the mixed profile on Marcus Hall's card, directly linking Cole to its handling. Another confirmed Avery's DNA on the brass letter opener. A footwear specialist compared Avery's shoes to the prints left in the bleach. The match was decisive. The defense pressed hard against the circumstantial chain. Cole's attorney suggested the DNA transfer could have been innocent, the payments unrelated to fraud, and Avery solely responsible for the violence. Avery's counsel argued that Cole orchestrated everything and that Avery had no intent to kill, only to help remove files. Both strategies tried to fracture the prosecution's united narrative. The most compelling evidence for the jury was digital. Prosecutors displayed email exchanges between Cole and Avery recovered from encrypted files on Avery's laptop. The messages included references to removing the problem and detailed instructions on cutting power to the surveillance hub. While the defense objected to interpretation, the jury saw coordination between the two. Witnesses from Broadwell Financial added weight. Several testified to Dana's concerns over the Halston audit and her intention to escalate findings. Others confirmed Cole's role in personnel decisions, including efforts to isolate employees who raised compliance issues. Marcus Hall testified as well. He described discovering he was the prime suspect, the strain of suspicion, and the evidence planted to implicate him. His testimony underscored the calculated attempt to misdirect investigators. Closing arguments framed the case as deliberate conspiracy versus isolated accident. Prosecutors emphasized planning, staging, and financial motive. Defense counsel leaned on ambiguity, urging jurors not to link corporate fraud with murder beyond reasonable doubt. After 2 days of deliberation, the jury returned unanimous verdicts. Jennifer Cole was found guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, obstruction of justice, and financial fraud. Thomas Avery was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy. Both were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The courtroom reaction was subdued but decisive. Broadwell Financial issued statements distancing itself from the convicted employees while cooperating with regulators on the Halston audit. The firm's reputation suffered heavily, but no criminal charges were brought against the company itself. For the Mitchell family, the verdict delivered closure. Dana's role as a diligent auditor had placed her in the path of corporate corruption, and the trial ensured accountability for those who silenced her. The case underscored how a workplace crime could spiral far beyond office walls. A murder committed after hours in a financial tower exposed a chain of fraud, collusion, and betrayal. What began as a suspicious entry and a body under a tarp ended with 2 convictions and the unmasking of corporate corruption. The murder of Dana Mitchell began as an unexplained death in a downtown office building. At first, suspicion landed on her supervisor, with card swipes and planted evidence pointing directly to him. But the investigation moved steadily, piece by piece, until the truth emerged. The real conspiracy reached deeper. Jennifer Cole, the company's human resources director, had been paid to suppress damaging information. Thomas Avery, a former IT contractor, provided technical access and carried out the killing. Together, they silenced Dana to protect fraudulent dealings tied to Halston Industries. What looked like an office dispute was in fact a calculated operation to destroy an audit report that threatened millions of dollars. The courtroom delivered closure. Both Cole and Avery received life sentences, removing any chance of parole. Broadwell Financial survived, but the scandal exposed vulnerabilities in its systems and left permanent damage to its reputation. For investigators, the case demonstrated how financial crime and violent crime can intersect in ways that seem ordinary at first glance, but unravel into something far larger. Dana Mitchell was a professional doing her job. She was targeted because she uncovered the truth. Her death forced those secrets into the open. The question that lingers is simple. How many similar truths stay hidden when those who discover them are silenced? And in workplaces where security systems can be bypassed and records erased, how safe is the truth from those willing to bury it?